Want to set up your M4 Mac Mini as a file sharing server over your home Wi-Fi network? It's easier than you think. In today's video, I'm not only going to show you how to set this up on your M4 Mac Mini, but I'm also going to go over the reasons why I've set this up using my M4 Mac Mini as my home server because yes, I have been using it as my main desktop, but I also use it to hook up all my external drives to. So when I'm using my MacBook, whether I'm sitting on my couch, in my bedroom, and I need to access files from different drives, I can just do so remotely, wirelessly, without having to hook up those drives to my MacBook, especially some of my older tape-based external hard drives that need power. It's just easier when they're all hooked up to one main server drive. First, I want to show you how everything looks once it's set up so you can get an idea of how this all works. So right here, you see my Finder window, and in the left side, you see a locations area. You see my MacBook Pro, which is what I'm using now. You also see my Mac Mini that's actually right here. And if you've never set this up before, it's actually going to show up in the network area of locations. So I'm going to click on my Mac Mini, then it's going to ask me to connect. Now you need to know the username and password of this machine. And the reason I mention that is it may not be the exact same username and password of the machine you're currently using, which is the case with my computer. So I'm going to log into my account. And as you can see right here, not only is it showing my folders, but it's also showing the folders of the external drives that I have hooked up to this machine. So I have my 2 terabyte OWC drive right here. I've got my 1 terabyte Thunderbolt enclosure right here, and I can go access them. No problem. I've got all of my files right here, and I can go add files to these drives. I can go take files from these drives. It's very easy to just do this wirelessly, and the speed's going to depend on your actual Wi-Fi network. So if you've got a solid network, the transfer speeds are pretty solid. I wouldn't necessarily recommend editing video directly off of using this method. I've used it with smaller file size files like drone footage or GoPro files, but when you're editing with much larger file sizes like files from cameras like a Red Komodo or a Blackmagic, Sony camera, I would just grab the files off of your external drive, put them on your computer. Another reason I use this is when I'm offloading footage. Sometimes I'm just sitting on my couch and I want to be able to offload footage for storage purposes on some of my older tape-based external hard drives. Well, I can just hook up my SD card or CF Express card to my MacBook, sit on my couch, go through the footage, and just drag the files into my external drive without having to hook up my external drive and get all that set up. I can do it all wirelessly, and this method makes it really easy. So let's dive in on how to do this. So let's set up file sharing. First thing you're going to want to do is go over to the top left of your computer and open System Settings. Then you're going to want to go to the General tab, scroll down to Sharing. And then the first thing that's enabled is file sharing. I do have media sharing enabled. That's for something else. The main thing you're going to need is file sharing. So I'm just going to click it again, just so you can see that's what you need to be enabled. Once you have file sharing enabled, go over to your Finder, go to the locations, and in Network, you'll see the computer you're enabling it on for the first time. Once you log in, typically it will then show up in the Locations tab, so it'll show up kind of like it does here, where I can click here to go to the locations in my Mac Mini, or I can go over here to go into my locations on my MacBook Pro. And I also have an iMac in my office. I have it enabled on that as well, although I don't use it as much anymore because I have the Mac Mini. And the Mac Mini is just so much more power efficient than my iMac. And I want to stress that is one of the main reasons I got the Mac Mini. Although I use it as my primary computer now, that wasn't my initial intent. My initial intent was to use it for this purpose because it uses so much less power than my iMac. I can tell on my power bills on a monthly basis how much cheaper they are. I'm saving around $20, $25 a month compared to my iMac, which is crazy because I used to leave my iMac on all the time. And now I pretty much shut it off most of the time unless I'm using it, but I do leave my Mac Mini on all the time, and the power consumption, especially in power save mode, is just incredibly small. So if you're interested in turning your Mac Mini into a server computer or want to maybe purchase a Mac Mini to turn into a server computer, this is the method I use the most. There are other ways of turning it into a server computer, especially if you want to access it remotely. I don't really do that because I don't want a lot of my footage being available via the internet. Some of it's confidential. There are other methods like turning your Mac Mini into a Plex server, which is for streaming to TVs or streaming devices. And I have used that in the past. I don't use it as much anymore because I typically just use streaming services in replace of that. But sometimes there's movies you just can't get on the streaming services and you want to be able to watch them on the TV. Maybe you own the digital file. Using a Plex server is a really good way to do that. And I'll show you how to do that in a future video. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And if you got knowledge and value out of today's video, please make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell to keep up to date with the latest videos on the channel. And until next time, my name's Jeff Fagien. Thank you for joining me as always, and I will catch you in the next video.